The health minister brings clarity on false social media claims. Cat Islanders express disappointment in leadership, and 5 government services slated to go digital. Good evening, everyone. I'm Leah Cooper with your JCN News for this Tuesday, December 22nd.
That is not true. That is not true. That is not true. People need to stop with this fake news and these lies. There was no monies given by PAHO to the government of the Bahamas. PAHO does not pay healthcare workers in the Bahamas.
That was Minister of Health Renwood Wells just outside of the Cabinet Office, setting the record straight about claims that the Pan American Health Organization donated money to the government for the essential service in healthcare. That includes an honorary gift for working through the pandemic. Here's Minister Wells with more details on the honorary gift promised.
At the start of the COVID pandemic in March, when we had our first case, the then Minister of Health, Dr. Dwayne Sands, came to the Cabinet of the Bahamas and said that he was having problems finding individuals who were willing to deal with COVID patients up front in the healthcare system. That is what was said. The government of the Bahamas decided that any individual who was going to step forward in that moment, in March, in April, in May, to deal with COVID patients, that the government would consider giving them an honorarium up to $5,000. Up to $5,000. In addition, if any of them were to lose their life in the course of dealing with COVID patients as a result of COVID, that the government would pay the family $100,000. That was what the Cabinet of the Bahamas agreed to.
Minister Wells says that the government is looking to pay workers who were set up during the defined period, which was March to June, along with the quarter for the gift. However, there is a change.
The problem that we're having is back in March and April, in May, those folks who stepped forward, initially, the list ended up expanding into July and September and October. Okay, and so based on what the Cabinet had initially agreed to, it's a defined period, and it was for those who were willing to step forward initially. It was for those who were willing to step forward and say, "Here am I, Lord, send me."
Minister Wells added that no healthcare workers has yet to receive the honorary gift. However, he says that government has paid the nurse the overtime. Meanwhile, along with the support staff overtime, he stands firm that the government will honor their commitments. Governance is about priorities and choices. These are the words of opposition leader Philip Davis when asked to respond to Attorney General Carl Bethel's comments in the Senate yesterday that the Free National Movement government had issued the original lease and approvals for the Bahamas Petroleum Company's oil exploration project, and that the Progressive Liberal Party had subsequently improved the terms of the approvals. While Mr. Davis says that the project's being executed under the F&M administration, adding that it should stop pointing fingers.
If he feels that he could renegotiate, then he should renegotiate it and get the deal that he and his government wish to have. If he's not satisfied with the deal that he claims that we struck, then he should negotiate the deal that he would wish to strike.
Oil drilling commenced yesterday, according to a press release by the Bahamas Petroleum Company. The well, according to BPC, is anticipated to take 45 to 60 days to complete and will be drilled to the highest environmental and safety standards, a concern of many who oppose the exploration. BPC says it will be drilling an initial exploration well named Perseverance No. 1 and is targeting P50 prospective oil resources of 0.77 billion barrels with an upside of 1.44 billion barrels. Senator Bethel also said yesterday that if the company strikes oil in the country for commercial use, the government will renegotiate the royalties and funds will be placed in the Consolidated Fund and the Sovereign Wealth Fund for the benefit of Bahamians. Acting Financial Secretary Marlon Johnson says that the new tax on game winnings should come as no surprise to gaming houses, as they were made aware in the incoming tax back in 2019. We learned this much during a virtual press conference held yesterday. At least one gaming house has complained that the time between the announcement and the actual implementation of the tax is too soon, and they're not prepared for such a change. In response, Mr. Johnson says this.
As far as I understand, this actual tax and structure was negotiated with the gaming houses industry back in 2019. So they were aware of the tax for over a year now. They were aware of what it would mean. They were consulted. That was discussed. I think their question may be the fact that it's now been announced a month out. But as far as we have come to understand, certainly from the agency responsible for them, they've been fully briefed, they're fully on board, they understand the parameters, and we will continue to work with the gaming board to ensure that there is compliance, and done so in a way that takes into account any concerns that the gaming industry have.
Mr. Johnson asserts that he and his ministry believe that it is possible for the tax to be implemented within the time frame given, and that consultation will continue with the gaming industry. Minister of State for Finance, Kwesi Thompson, announced last week that the government will implement a tax on game winnings on January 1st, 2021. The tax on winnings is said to be able to potentially yield up to $15 million through the end of the fiscal year. This year's Bahamas Junior Certificate and Bahamas General Certificate of Secondary Education results will be formally released to the public tomorrow. This according to Education Minister Jeffrey Lloyd, just ahead of the weekly cabinet meeting. Asked if he was pleased with the results, he says this.
I am very satisfied with the results, all things considered. As you would expect, there were fewer numbers that took the exams than had been registered, and that's for any number of reasons. Certainly the COVID experience would have been primary about that. And when we look at the results of those that did take the exam, we feel very satisfied, all things considered, with the performance of our students this year.
Due to the pandemic, the academic year and national exams occurred later than traditionally scheduled. However, Minister Lloyd notes next year's exams will start on time, along with the GLAD exam, which 3rd and 6th graders usually sit, but was canceled because of the pandemic this year.
We hope to God that we don't see another circumstance such as COVID-19, but us and our Cambridge evaluators and assessors are right now and have been for the last several months making every effort to secure our exams on time. As you know, our exams usually start at the end of March and go all the way into the middle of May. Yes, we are in the process right now with the Cambridge assessors to ensure that is accomplished.
There have been some concerns that some students have to repeat who may have been struggling with the online method of learning. To that, the minister says this.
We're going to make sure every effort is provided and given and made available to those students who in any way would have been deprived. Repetition is the last resort, so we don't want to consider that. We believe that other methodologies which are now being considered by the Ministry of Education will suffice in remedying whatever shortfall those students may have suffered.
Once the COVID-19 numbers remain down, students can expect to return to face-to-face learning as early as February. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.